Welcome back to Shall You Proceed Season 4 premiere. I'm excited to be back with you on this platform to talk about something really important with some amazing guests. The Black vote. Voting is election year. We need to talk about it. You can never exhaust this topic. So we're going to go and get into debates, the candidates, the tension between the parties, why people are not voting. Ridiculous ideas, I know. But I want to have three people come on who are passionate about everything they talk about, discuss this amazing topic. First up, I have Nikki Brooks, former teacher, consultant, project manager, president of the NAACP for East Chambers County, and now is a learning development specialist. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I had to have you on. I kind of bullied you into coming on, right?
Yeah. It didn't take much.
Yes, right. And next I have Damon Parrish II, has made his life work focusing on representation of injured persons in criminal matters, especially those in mental health issues, member of various professional organizations, associations. Mr. Parrish has spoken at numerous legal functions, churches, social events on criminal legal issues affecting minorities and mental health community. Mr. Parrish has a BS in computer science, a BA in mass media from Houston Baptist University, and his JD from Thurgood Marshall Law School at TSU, my alma mater. What's up? How are you doing, Mr. Parrish?
I'm doing all right. I just realized that bio is way too long, but I'm doing all right.
Listen, but I read it and I stumbled, and I'm going to say all of it. I'm going to acknowledge all of the things that you do.
And I appreciate you for it.
Damn right. And next I have Mr. Brennen Dunn, JD, MBA, owner of Dunn Legal Group, PLLC. I don't know what all that means. Forgive me.
Nothing, John Snow.
Nothing.
Okay. Minority-owned law firm based in Houston, Texas. That's what I'm talking about. Litigation, over 10 years experience in trial litigation. Firm has a key focus in civil, criminal, and family litigation. For 7 years, Mr. Dunn has coached litigation techniques to law students in the Houston area, leading teams to national success. Mr. Dunn hosts a legal analysis webcast, Injustice, for over a year and a half, and has an ongoing multi-topic podcast, Intelligence. So does Mr. Parrish as well as on Intelligence. I used to follow that show on a regular basis.
Really?
I need to come on back, and I'm just saying. Anyway, graduated from Xavier University in Louisiana with a BS in psychology, American International University with an MBA, and Thurgood Marshall Law School. Welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
I am happy to have all of you here after I said all those wonderful things. Let's talk about the Black vote. I wanted to invite people on that I know are well-versed in these topics. They can talk about these things with passion and compassion and hopefully change some minds on not their political view. I'm not trying to do that, but at least to exercise their right and use their right to vote and the importance of it. So let's talk about the early vote and how has it looked for all of you in your areas? Because it's been great for me in Harris County. Numbers are up out here.
So I live in Harris County as well, live in West Houston, kind of towards Katy, and it was easy. I was able to vote in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, give or take, in and out. Not really a hassle where I voted.
Nikki, did you get some early voting done?
I'll be going in the morning. My husband and I'll be going in the morning. As I hear, the polls are pretty packed out here in Southeast Houston, right outside of Pearland. So I'm excited. I'm in Harris County too.
We're going to be quiet because he hasn't even voted.
Oh, listen, I will boot you off of this.
No, I have not voted yet. I'm gonna. This week is a trial week for me. So, but I will say this: when I drove out this morning to try to get some breakfast, and there's a voting location that includes drive-in voting.
Yes.
And the line was probably at least 50 cars long to get into the parking lot. So, and that was at like 8:30 this morning. So. I think voting is alive and well, at least on day one of early voting.
And the good thing is we have 3 weeks this year for early voting, not just the usual 2 weeks. There's drive-in voting, and on the 29th, you have 24-hour voting. So if you miss all this early from 7 to 7, you can go on the 29th for 24 hours. I want to say it's the NRG. I could be wrong, and vote. But it's really important that we all look on the website to where your early voting locations are going to be. It's not the same always as it's going to be on November 3rd. And that's been a confusion that I dealt with today. I'm a librarian, and we had so many people come in saying, well, you're listed. No, we're listed for the day of. Make sure you please pay attention to where you're going for early voting so you won't get that frustration and then decide to not even do anything about it. So let's talk about the debates, the candidates, what's been going on. We had 2 debates so far, presidential and vice presidential debates. One was a shit show.
Straight up.
Call it what it is. And the other one was a semi-shit show. Call it what it is. So let's talk about that. How did y'all feel about those debates? How do they seem to you?
Before you say that, I was going to jump back in on voting real quick, because the one thing that I've heard a lot of post the debates, the presidential debate, where the current sitting Orange Klansman, POTUS, actually kind of put this clarion call out for nationalist groups and those who are in the know. The militias are active. The Proud Boys, they are actually a spin-off group of Stormfront, which is literally like KKK 2.0. They were the largest white nationalist group on the internet at one point. Proud Boys are one of the factions of this whole Unite the Right thing, where they came together because they were having these factions about how they should do stuff and decide to unite. Just throwing that out there. And what he said was for them to stand back, stand down, or what is stand back, stand by. And for my family, for people that I know, in particular people of color in the South, that's very triggering because that sounds scary. And we also know that people that are in active militias, you middle-aged, bald-headed, and work at the plant, and you in a militia, I don't even want to fool with you on voting day. So some of it is there's a fear that's undergoing people going to the polls. The second thing is also we don't want any tricks. We've seen them from the time I remember waking up that day on November 4th and we didn't have a president with Al Gore and George Bush. Y'all remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That was surreal. And it was like, we didn't think it could get any worse than that. But this sitting president is actually, that we are seeing them playing in our face about these issues with voting in Texas and Harris County. They took that mail-in spot down to 1 spot for as large as Harris County is. So I think that what I'm seeing is that people are in formation. People are saying, you know what, I'm going to make sure my vote counts, or at least remove barriers if they attempt to play with my vote. So I'm very encouraged with the activity that I'm seeing. And, again, I think a lot of what we've seen, in particular that presidential debate, it really solidified if there are any myths or theories or whatever about, it's not as serious as you think. When your sitting president stands and says the things that were said, it is serious. And so you do what you have to do to make sure that you do your part.
Absolutely. Do you, gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
I probably have a different approach than most people here. I hear stand by and stand down and was not concerned in the slightest bit.
Mm-hmm.
No part of me has worried about that at all. I am no more afraid of a Proud Boy as an unproud boy or as a whatever. That there's no mind to me whatsoever. Anybody can talk big and brave behind the keyboard or on Facebook, and you said they're the largest internet hate group. Whoop-de, I don't know if you can cuss on this thing. Whoop-de-doo.
You can.
Good. Whoop-de fucking do. That shit don't bother me at all. Like it doesn't bother me. I feel like as a Black person, we are very much accustomed to having a fight, be ready for a fight. We are very accustomed to having to being disenfranchised, and so just having someone say it out loud means nothing to me. What I will say is this though: every election I've voted since I was 18. I turned 18 in 2000, so that's 20 years of voting. Every 2 years, it seems like every 2 years we're hearing some form of complaint about voter suppression. And I'll be the first to say I don't think all of it is true. To be honest with you, I mean, shit happens, right? And not everything is racist, not everything is voter suppression. The one mailbox thing to me didn't really seem like a voter suppression issue. The Proud Boys, whatever statement he said, didn't really to me seem like a voter suppression issue. It sounded like rhetoric. And I guess because I'm used to dealing with rhetoric as a lawyer, I blow it away. But I hear a lot of bullshit, and so when I look and see that we surpassed day one early voting in Harris County, which itself was a record-breaking deal last election, right? And so we broke the record in 2016. We broke the record again in 2020. I'm very comforted by that, and I don't think people are scared by that. I don't think people are scared by that. White supremacy, black supremacy, none of that shit scares us anymore, as well as it should never. But I'm happy to see that the voting has turned out the way it is. I'm happy to see that.
But do you understand where people may be fearful when they hear those words? Yes, you have the maturity and the wherewithal not to let that bother you, but there's so many of us who are not educated on so many different layers of things that are taking this as a true I need to worry. How do you at least understand that?
I've heard a lot of people repeat the comment. I've not heard a single person afraid of it. Everybody I know who's like he said that that's crazy has been like immediately followed with something like, but I wish somebody would. I mean, and as black people, we have that. We always have that kind of like go to movie theater, take my seat. Always ready to have a fight with somebody over principles, right? So everyone has been like, this is crazy. He said that. This is crazy. He said that. But then it's always followed up with, okay, but I got my shit though, so let them come my way. You know what I mean? Like it's always ready for like the next fight. So.
My question to you then. So let's say, let's say that's subjection, that people are not, afraid. What would you say that reducing Harris County down to one mail-in spot, what would you say that is then if that's not voter suppression? Because voter suppression is real. But what would you say that is?
That was one collection spot. My understanding is you can drop off the ballot any postal location. You don't have to drive to that particular mailbox to drop it off. So you can put your ballot in your mailbox in front of your house. It's picked up by the postman and taken it. My understanding is that's the spot where it is picked up to be tallied across the county. So it's not saying, Nikki Brooks, you take your ballot to this one particular ballot over here. It's saying postal carrier, this is the place where whoever picks up the ballot for official checking via mail-in, you go to this one spot. If it ain't there, then it ain't going to be there, which requires the post office to bring your ballot from your house to that spot. That's my understanding. If that's not the case, then that's not the case. But to the next step forward, I don't even believe in mail-in ballots. That's too many steps in the chain of voting. I got to fill it out, and somebody's got to take it and mail it. I myself like getting my ass down to the poll and putting my ballot right then and there, and remove one less chain from the link of voting. That's me, though.
What do you mean you don't believe in mail-in voting?
I believe it exists, sir. I don't believe in doing it. I think it's lazy. I get my ass to the poll office and do it if I'm not handicapped or otherwise unable to go to the polling location.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that little last tail to it because I'm like, some people, because this morning people are out there who are they're so fearful because they're hearing, everyone's not tech savvy. We do have people who rely on the newspaper. We rely on certain things. So they're out there and they should have probably mailed in. They're sitting out there in little chairs trying to put their vote in, and they're not able-bodied. And then they hear, I am limited now to one location to drop these things off. So I hear what you're saying, but there has to be some compassion behind. There's legit fear. And just recently, someone in California was putting up fake locations to drop off ballots to steal people's ballots. So that's not like, yes, the media will make things sound ridiculous. We all know that. But there's valid fear when it comes to, will my mail-in ballot be counted? We've had too many elections where Dibbits were and Chads were not, because it was too crooked on the whatever, they took your vote away. And then you have we may let you write your ballot in, it may be counted. They're worried about those things.
Yeah, the mail-in voting locations, there were 12 of them in Harris County. And we were talking about places where, just like when you go vote, I don't just go up, go swipe in my computer in my job and decide that I'm gonna vote. I have polling locations to go in person to vote. And it's the same with the mail-in ballots. There is a place to drop it. And, you have to think about things like everyone doesn't have a mailbox. People still use post office boxes. There are people who do in neighborhoods that might have a mailbox, but then there is not security there with the vote. So that is why you have a secured, almost like a postal mail drop-off box that's like this box. If it goes in here at this spot, just like you're walking to the library to vote or somewhere, if you drop it in this spot, then that this is a secure spot, that these ballots will be collected and that they will be counted. So, and the thing is that when it comes to a lot of not just minorities, but really that's kind of like a class and access thing, people having access to stuff. When you start getting into lower socioeconomic groups, you start seeing that a lot of people's limitations are psychological, in the sense of, when you throw a little bit of fear, a little bit of intimidation out there, a lot of people, they don't want to smoke. So I don't have time for that. Mm-hmm. I'm leaving, and so to make that move in this largest county we have millions of people, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And I know, and I understand how it feels. We have that pride, don't let anybody hold you back. I wish you would. That's great. I do wish you would. But here's the problem. There are a lot of people that's wooden out there. And a lot of times
they're not. There's a lot of people that say they're wood.
With white rage. We think that it is a physical thing a lot of times. A lot of times we are oppressed by process and procedure. People wrap up what they want to do. And you guys are attorneys. You know that. People.
Yeah, but we have to stop treating ourselves as constant victims. I mean, that the way, to be fair, the way you described it is like, I mean, good gosh, get up and go vote. Like, go to the poll. It's not that hard.
Regardless of the voting, that is a privilege. Do you believe that everyone can go do that?
We haven't changed the way. Since I've been voting for the past 20 years, it's been the exact same process. I've never used a hanging chat. I've always used the same 4-digit number. Click.
Why
I always do the same
process to the polls if it's just that easy to go vote? If there are no barriers, and the only barrier is I want to vote and I'm going to go do it, then we wouldn't have things in our county like free rides to the polls. We wouldn't have organizations that
circular logic
in neighborhoods and giving rides to the polls.
That's a circular logic you have there.
Brennen, I want you to jump in here because you think you want to you double dutch and use hopscotch.
Yeah,
he's moot. But let me say this, Nikki: the same process for needing a ride to the ballot, you need that to one of your mail-in ballots. Also, you have more polling stations than you do mail-in ballots. So if you can't get to a polling station, you definitely can't get to a mail-in ballot. All right, Brennen, go ahead, say something.
Thank you. I try to be respectful, especially when I hear tomfoolery. So obviously, Damon, you are not every person. It's not all in you. So at some point, there's obviously different avenues of voting because there are different types of people trying to vote. You have people overseas. You have people that don't live here but keep their domicile, their residential domicile still here. You have people who are febrile. You have people that can't walk, that all need to utilize these different methods. So you're hale, you're healthy, great. Get up, go vote. For my elderly grandmother, she can't. She mailed it. I talked to her this last weekend. She was in the process of writing down her mail-in ballot. So obviously there are people that need to utilize the different resources for voting. And I want to make sure that we're clear that although the governor did try to limit the locations for turning in those mail-in ballots, the federal judge overturned that. So that's a moot point at this point. people within the Republican Party, and I'm going to speak specifically on the Republican Party because I think those are where the dastardly deeds get done. People within the Republican Party are going to try their best to try every trick, piece of skullduggery, whatever you want to call it, they can to get the Democratic voters out of the way. However, I think we're in a time where it's a lot harder for them to pull off the tricks that would have worked in the past. The age of technology is equal to the tricks of the elderly, so to speak. So, I think there was somebody said they had somebody had accidentally, quote unquote, cut a cable for one of the voting booths.
Mm-hmm.
And they got it back up and running again. Now, did that deter some people? Yes. But my thought is people that want to vote are going to vote no matter what. If they want to, they'll be back the next day. They'll be back the next week. Because the people that find the importance in this election are not going to simply be swayed by a mild deterrent. So at the end of the day, no matter how much we hem and haw about, this place turned away people, I'm sure that those people are going to go to the next voting spot because this particular election weighs heavily on everyone's heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
But I want to know.
Let me clear something up also, Brennan. Appeals court overturned the circuit court, so there's only one ballot location for mail-in in Texas that happened today.
All right.
So the point I'm making is we had the largest number of first day voting in Harris County, in spite of the fact that the governor's order limiting to one ballot location has been upheld, and the people that appear to really be influenced by that, like you said, correct, are people who wanted to hand deliver their ballot to the drop-off location, not to a post office, but to the drop-off location. That's a different story than what we're painting. And all I'm saying is we don't always have to be victims.
I don't think it's victimization. We have to also address some of the things. We're in a social media age. So the reality is that you are going to have media that hits. You now have people who everybody can be their own media, and really legitimacy can sometimes turn into a popularity contest because everybody is not skilled in quantifying sources and legitimizing them. And so some things that happened over the summer was, I saw this stuff. Trump's messing with the Postal Service. He's shutting this down. He's doing this. He's doing that. And you have, people like ourselves who probably going to sit there and discern and go through information to get down to the facts and the ABC if this. Technically, we rare and we're few and far between. Most people going to hear one thing and then they gone off with it. Just like, if you want to be random with something corona, somebody put out there, Black folks can't get it. And then you have people saying that for a minute until it hits here. You know what I mean? Because everybody's not filtering through for facts that way. And I don't think that has anything to do with being a victim or victimization. I think that just has to do with people's cognitive levels, people's interest levels in certain things, the things that people are doing in their life, and people's attention spans and all of that. I just think that has to do with that. And that's why people need people who are scholarly, and can carry some influence to help them drudge through and dig through all of the word salads that are all out there.
Yeah, you have to get past the bullshit from both parties to get to the truth. The mail-in ballot from Harris County is not really a suppression issue. The truth is we're voting well, and the truth is Proud Boys ain't shit. So that's what it is. That's my truth, at least.
And you have to speak your truth, and that's great. But I feel the same way. They ain't shit. You're not going to stop me from exercising my right. But I also know in the environment that I work in and what I see, there's people have legitimate fear of being suppressed and not being heard, and that is going to deter some people. And I feel it's up to us who are fearless to let them know it's okay. And if they need a ride, if they need to get somewhere, we need to be able to do that. I mean, because everyone doesn't have the same access. They don't have the same knowledge. And we have to be willing to educate for they can understand that there's nothing to fear. Let's go ahead and get this done.
See, the that I've that I've noticed that say, oh, my vote doesn't count, or they're out here suppressing votes, so there's no need for me to go, are the people that have been mentally lazy for a long time, that actually don't want to do the work that it takes to get something done, but will also conversely bitch and complain about the system. So I hear what you're saying, but it goes back to what I said earlier. People that want to vote are going to vote, and the people that make excuses, those are the same people, the woke folks, that'll have everything to say but nothing to do. And I don't know how much we're going to sway those people. Regardless, we can push them all day long, but they're going to make excuses on it doesn't matter. The man's still trying to keep us down. All right, let's move along. I would rather us focus our attention on making sure the people that want to go vote, hey, we've got the resources here available for you, and let's make sure that those people, instead of trying to talk other people into voting, focus on the people that want to and make sure that they have the opportunity to.
One thing is, as a little caveat here, data, and I know that you guys can appreciate that. I was looking for, I was trying to look for the most recent, which would have been really like 2017, but the trend is there. It hadn't reduced drastically. I'm going to go with 2014, and that is the FBI and Bureau of Journal Statistics voluntary information from police reporting agencies on hate crimes. And again, this trend has been consistent. So it is even though these are not the exact numbers from the last 2 years, these are the numbers that are about this right now. So in 2014, the number of hate crimes reported to the FBI that were racially motivated, 66.4% of them were motivated by anti-Black or African-American bias. That the FBI takes in about 6,000 reports every year. The Bureau of Journal Statistics takes in anywhere from 250 to 300,000 reports or incidents per year. So out of those, 66.4% of those were motivated by anti-Black or African-American bias. So when we say things like, oh, well, Stormfront, they ain't nothing, Proud Boys ain't shit, they may not be here in Houston because you got what you need in your neighborhood and stuff, but they actually are. Because it is those cowardly people who are committing these crimes against people who are, the cowardly people like Kyle Rittenhouse. That's the coward. And it only takes one. And now I don't think that we should live in fear. We definitely should not live in fear about it. But I also believe, though, that when people are looking at data and statistics, we can't minimize their fear as if it is not real just because we can't personally relate to it or touch it. The data is there. So it's there.
Do you think that these sub-organizations like the Proud Boys have enough cohesion to be effective as a collective? And I think that might be what Damon is saying. Like, I'm not afraid of these knick-knack people all over the place. People bump gums all day long, but are they effective as a collective?
Yeah, well, let me ask, in my opinion, and again, I also am coming from that position of somebody who's kind of been into a life of advocacy and activism and civil rights activism. So I deal with that data. I do think that it is something to be feared, maybe not from a violent perspective, so to speak, but I'll pull some data before we get off of this. But at the end of the day, when we say Stormfront was the largest national organization, you got to look at their history. About 20 years ago, when we really started getting into dial-up and stuff, literally the KKK said, we need to rebrand. We don't need to be KKK. We need to rebrand, but we still need to keep white nationalism alive. So they created this organization. Florida's the home of it. So it's not coincidental that you have so many things coming out of Florida. And one thing that they said, there were 3 points that they hit that people don't know about. And this information is available on FBI's website. This information is available out on their stuff. The 3 points that they hit, they said, okay, people are threatened, we're extinct, affirmative action is taking our jobs, and we need to be prepared for this manifest destiny race war. And so what they did, they listed 3 top professions that they believe white men, young men should go into. Those 3 top professions: police officers, EMS officers, and prison parole people. Those were the 3 professions they said that you need to go in that are white boys safe, basically. They're white males safe. And when you go into those professions, you can excel. You won't be threatened by affirmative action and other people, taking your jobs. And you also can train and keep yourself fit. In addition to that, between 1997 and 2001, the homeschool movement had an influx of like over 1.5 million students. Like they came out the public schools, went into homeschool. One of the largest homeschool organizations is connected and birthed out of individuals that are connected to that whole nationalist supremacist movement.
Right.
Now,
right.
Yeah. And so,
I guess what I want to tie into is like, no one is arguing that white supremacy is not an issue or doesn't exist. It is. The Klan is real. We know about the Klan. That's old news for us, right? And to what Brennen said, and my point is, am I worried about some offshoot, a bunch of homeschoolers? No. Am I worried about somebody who's a keyboard warrior?
But those homeschoolers are making it law
if you are a person who is saying, I'm not going to go vote because the president said 4 words: stand down and stand by. 5 words: stand down and stand by. You heard those 5 words. If that scared you off the poll, then your ass should stay at home. Period. You're a scary person. You weren't going to vote anyways.
Facts, right?
But we don't need to worry about that. Like that person who's scared of that, we can ignore that person. No offense, because as an educated voters, I want to hear issues. I don't want to hear rhetoric anymore. I want to hear issues because I want to make an informed vote. So
I to the point of Trump,
and we should talk about issues. You're right. We should.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the debate, because that's where it came up in the debate when he made those.
And that's what I was going to say. I honestly don't know so first of all, I have a very dark sense of humor. But instead of being enraged or irritated by the debate, I was laughing hysterically the whole time. But Donald Trump is somebody to me. If you've ever watched Mr. Bean, and there are other characters like it where they're so dumb that when people watch them, they assume they're being brilliant, because it's like, oh, he couldn't be dumb. He's got something else that he's playing on. I honestly don't think that Donald Trump meant to have these people called to arms. I think he was trying to simultaneously not distance himself from them while putting on a facade of I'll denounce everybody, but he knows that they were directly speaking to his base, so he couldn't just come out and say, I hate those people. So his words and his word vomit came out: stand down and stand by. I don't think, in my heart, and this isn't to defend Trump in any shape, form, or fashion. I think just with his words, and didn't necessarily mean, hey, I need y'all to stand ready at the battlements, ready to go. But we take what Trump says so interestingly that we're like, oh, Trump told them to stand down and stand by. No, he's just stupid and used the wrong words, and now he's going. And the only thing smart about Trump is the after effect of what he does. He's able to pivot.
That's what's important, though.
After the fact, but in the moment, Trump is dumb, and I think people give Trump more credit than what he really deserves. He is smart at spinning stuff after the fact.
Absolutely.
It's not him that's the problem. It's the people that he corrals and ignites. It's that below average group that feels left behind, that feels ignited and spoken to by him. Now, I mean, we don't have to even dig into that, because voting, I would love to talk about the issues and stuff. However, if challenged to present the facts and the data, because that's what you're asking about. Is it legit? Which is what you're saying? It's emotional and fabrication. Or are these people making this stuff up that they're afraid of? No, it's coming from a place. It's coming from a real, legit source, and a very visible and vocal and influential source. And so I think that it behooves us not to be blind to it, because and not to diminish it to that degree. You know, I just think it behooves us not to diminish it.
So I don't diminish. What I don't diminish is the effect. I don't care about the cause as much as I care about the effect, because all Trump does is parrot. He has become a parrot and a megaphone for the monarchy of illiteracy. You know, so the people that all the rednecks, all the people that want to hem and haw all day, they found a voice in Trump, and Trump has utilized them because those are numbers for his end goal, and his only end goal is to stay relevant. And in his relevance, he finds his power. So as long as I can keep going, that's cool. And Trump has shown you the term "by any means necessary" is the epitome of Trump. And that is the difference between a Democrat and the majority of Republicans, that they've used the "by any means necessary" standard.
Now, Democrats are weak as hell.
Well, and now that somebody within the Republican Party is willing to do it, they're just going to sit idly by and let it happen, because it still benefits them until it doesn't.
Yeah.
So, you know, the effect is what I'm more worried about than the Trump himself.
Yeah. That's it. That's what I'm saying. It is the effect. It is his influence, or it is influence if it impacts, if it causes people to take action, if it causes people to have a particular mindset, that is influence. And so, I think that in this particular climate that we're in, I think that it's not all just like hype and emotion. There are some people that are taking this to heart. You know, again,
absolutely. Black voters are taking this to heart, and they're voting, and they're not worried about these people. But I think we spent a good amount of time talking about the Proud Boys, though. I know we're supposed to talk about the presidential debates
and talking about
voting. So,
but let me say this. I agree with everyone, but I do agree with you, Brennen, that he's just vomiting things that he wants to say. And when I listen to it, I'm like, he didn't really want to say what that is, but he's so ignorant. That's what came out of his mouth. My concern is this: when you're a leader in anything, as all of us know very well, you have to be really mindful of what you say and how you say it, because you have people out here who need to be led. They want to follow something, and they will follow and take everything very literally and keep it to Bible as that's what you said for me to do. And the problem is you're not correcting and telling people, no, this is not right. And that's endangering people.
He's never going to.
Sir?
You've had 4 years to know the culture of Trump. You know.
Oh, I knew it before he was president. I mean, I'm just saying, though, it's like, that's my thing. I can't, even though I'm well versed and I'm mature in so many things, I also worry about those who do not have the same backbone or skin that I have to handle and walk through these things. That's just me. I just worry about those who will truly be fearful of what's going on, and try to figure out how can I help them in some kind of way not be fearful. That's it.
Yeah.
You help them by not acknowledging it. Just move on. So we talk about. So we're talking. You brought something about the president.
Tell me we're gonna move on, Damon. First of all,
I'm not telling you to move on. I'm saying you tell them, like, listen, this go vote. Somebody, Trump says white supremacists show up and stop the vote. Are you going to sit at home and not vote? No, you're going to go vote. You're going to go in spite of, right? You can hear these words.
You are keeping us on track. You are bringing us back to vote. You know, I think you saying, look, I'm trying to talk about this, and we talk about.
So let's talk about voting. So you can say that sounds great. If they're not going to vote, they're not going to vote. But my issue comes into play where, and I'm one, I can just scroll on by and not worry about it. I understand. I've studied the ballot who I need to vote for. But those who think it's like you touched on it, it's not just that. There are other things on that ballot that need to be addressed.
Yes.
You have the Justice and Policing Act. You have city council members. That's where it starts. If you don't want to vote for that one, and you want to complain, you can't complain about this shit if you don't help plunge it. So you have city council, you have senators, you have judges. So how do we make people educate themselves on at least saying, if you don't want to give a damn about the presidential election, that part, that's fine. But you cannot be the main person yelling about complaining about my roads, my streets, the school system, when you have school board elections, you have city council elections, you have judge elections, all these senators. If you look at the ballot, depending on where you are located, it is deep and there's a lot going on with it. So how do we at least get people to educate themselves on, I don't care who you vote for, red or blue or green or libertarian, whatever it is, but acknowledge that there's more on this ballot that you need to look at. Because you're the main ones who don't say, who say I'm not voting. They're the main ones yelling the mountaintop when they're mad about something.
Well, if your question is about how we educate voters on everything to be voted on, then you have to start holding people's feet to the fire that are influencers, and saying, why aren't you guys talking about anything other than, yes, we know there's a presidential debate. However, within each city, what are they doing for the local ballot, and making sure that things are there? Are any of the newscasters and news reporters putting out the images and the platforms of the various people on the ballots? Are the influencers? If Beyonce, I don't know if Beyonce's in Houston right now, wherever she is she talking about, are people who with the major podcasts, is Roland Martin, having a discussion about different sub ballots, and I don't think we have any of that. The cool people aren't incorporating themselves into the much deeper discussions, and let's be honest, most people are only going to be enticed by the things that they're familiar with and that interest them. So the people that have the pull aren't doing enough to be a part of the platform of education, and we're not holding them to the fire to say, hey, can y'all put on a town hall? If Cardi B is going to talk about things, let's allow Cardi B to have a town hall in a city where she brings in some of the ballot members so they can have that conversation.
I think we're too divided on that, though. That sounds great, but we can't rely on, if we know it needs to be done, why can't we hold the town hall?
Because
everybody do it?
Because we don't have.
Because the thing is, when Cardi B wants to do it or Beyonce wants to do it, you have people who criticize it.
But I'm saying early, 200 people, but that's 200 out of 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're actually trying to educate people on a wide scale, then you have to force the mainstream conduits to embrace it.
Right, I agree.
From us. So Erlene may not be able to get 200, but Erlene and 50 other people can go pressure Fox News to hold a town hall. And
then also spend time, have the Democratic Party spend time on the message and stop talking about the same topics to get alarmist votes. Case in point, let's talk about defunding the police.
Right.
Let's tell people how defunding the police doesn't mean getting rid of a police department. It just means taking the billions of dollars, and with almost every jurisdiction, the police department represents the extreme majority. More than 50% of every jurisdiction's budget is for police. HPD, New York, they'll give $1 billion to the cops and 200 million to teachers, right? Let's talk about what defund the police means, and let's educate people that defund the police doesn't mean get rid of police. It means take some of this billions of dollars you spend on police, give it to social workers, give it to address mental illness, give it to community groups. Instead of keep talking about how they're Proud Boys said this and Trump said this. At this stage of the game, you know who you're going to vote for. There is not a single swing voter left in this country. You're either voting for Trump or you're voting for Biden or you're not voting, period. And you're not going to convince either person to do that, right? So let's educate the voters and convince them not just about presidential, but how downstream ballots and elections matter, and how the prosecutor, the head DA, will have a larger impact on your life than the president will, right? The judges you vote for will have a larger impact. Let's teach people, the mayor and city council, to defund the police and change that. Let's teach them that, and so we can stop focusing so much on national politics, which is important. And I am not knocking national politics, but we need to stress it more importantly than national is the local people. The people you can reach out and touch have a better chance to reach out and touch you as well. And
honestly,
we need to stress that.
When you're talking about, I made the comment about celebrity people with influence, but there are other influential organizations that don't do what I think they should be doing. Let's say for the Divine Nine. You know when it's AKA season. You know when it's Founders Day for any.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
One of the organizations. They have it everywhere. Everybody's Facebook page is pink and green. Crimson and red, crimson and white, crimson and white.
Don't get us blasted by them deltas, Brennan. Come on.
Just stop. Yeah, let's just.
But every one of those organizations makes what they want known when it's time. So why aren't the organizations that hold influence or at least have a visible have visibility? Why aren't they doing more? And why aren't we pushing them to do more? If we're involved in those organizations, hey, we need to be holding town hall. We need to post on the page. Here's a list of all the candidates. How many times have you seen somebody post? Here's a list of all the candidates and their pros and cons.
I think the issue is, we have to get to the root of why we're so divided as a people, because so many people want to point the finger and say, why aren't you? Why aren't you? And it's hard for us to get together because one, people are fearful of, if I say something, will I lose this? Will I lose that? Mm-hmm. And also we're like the cat with the laser. We get so distracted by the next issue and you think, well, it doesn't bother me. And we have to stop having that mentality across the board and not care and not look to certain things. We can come together and then I think it will spread more, but we have to realize we can't point the finger, because I agree with you. We need to use our influence and use what we're a part of to spread the word. But I think what comes into it is so many of us succeed and get to a point and we forget where we were before. And we forget that everyone doesn't have the same access and the same knowledge to push things forward.
It's crimson and cream, not crimson and
You're right, Erlene, and I think you're right. It's a couple things, because y'all all are right on each one of these things. I think that we have been each one reaching one. That's evidenced by what's going on at the polls. I think that we may not always have that mainstream influential push. It would be great if we did, but I think that many people that do know are taking the time for their circles of influence, no matter how small or big they may be, to share the facts, to encourage people. And I think that's evidenced by the people that are showing up. Because true, Cardi B may have some influence, but Cardi B is probably not getting your neighbor's daughter to go out and vote. She really not. I mean, is it good that she would be talking about it and be a catalyst for conversation? Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, she's not really hitting her in the heart the way that your neighbor would be able to, or that you might be able to. So I think we are actively doing it. It's just a slow game. And I think that second part of that is that, I have seen from, I think some of it is what we want, because I see on just a prime example, I have seen during the pandemic, at least 6 events come across in Harris County about voting, live voting registration from various D9 organizations. Many of them partnered up with these alumni chapters and things like that. They can't get 20 people to like the thing, and it's on a Zoom. Mm-hmm. But let them post the line. We want to see that. You see, so some of that is not a whole lot to do with, and I say that this is the NAACP. People always say they don't do nothing. They ain't about nothing. They don't do nothing. Well, when you do things, you need people to respond to those things. When you are, we tend to look at our people that we consider to be exceptional in the community, and we go, "Oh, good job. She's so smart." And then we watch them do what they do, and we don't jump in and do a thing. We don't help. We feel like we can't, or for whatever reason. And when you have 1 or 2 people doing something, it can't scale. It can't scale the way.
And it gets exhausting because the same people, the same one or two people doing things, and you get discouraged. You get it because people are busy, or, oh, well, you know, I have life to live. Well, you know, this is some life stuff. And so as a person who tries to organize things and get things done, it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting. I know it shouldn't be an excuse, but that's just real. That's just real shit. It gets exhausting because people rather see sensationalized crap, but when it's positivity, you can't even get. And I agree, Nikki. I've seen everybody I know who either a Q, an Alpha, a Delta, aka Sigma, Zetas, having all these functions, trying to zoom your way to talk about candidates, trying to show you that we're putting up polling stations to come register to vote before October 5th, and they only have a few people show up. But let it be something else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's the sad thing is you have folks who are well versed who's not even helping them.
I think we all agree that we need community.
About is the church, the Black church, and I feel like I already have that a former.
Don't you walk away? Don't you walk away?
As a former, pastor, minister myself, as a former pastor, my issue with the church is I feel like that because of the way Black America is structured traditionally, the pastors in America are still people that have the largest audience on a weekly basis of people that are willingly submitting to their assumed knowledge and assumed wisdom and influence. They are willingly coming there for that. And I think that a lot of the church's voice, they sold it for a 501c3 flavored pot of beans. It's very discouraging when you can see your huge leaders in the church, people that are mega and everything, and don't say a word about anything that's going on. They can't because they're muzzled because they get government money for some of their activities. And so they don't want to shut down this life center and this school and all this other stuff because they make it their hand slap if they tell people something as simple as, here are the candidates and here's such and such, and this is how this issue affects this neighborhood that we are in. And I believe it is very critical and crucial. Now, of course, I know the church is losing some influence and things like that. I'm just saying, I think it's critical and crucial. And I am highly disappointed when I see, which is constantly, and just be like, you ain't about nothing. When I see pastors that swerve and avoid intentionally and refuse to speak on any of these things that are impacting their congregants, you will take these people tithe, but you won't tell these people that the city ain't gonna fix these potholes if you don't go out and vote on proposition whatever. That is what I would like to see be better. I would like to see us do more. Now that's not an ought against the church. I'm not anti-church. I'm a part of the church. That is a critique of it, and that I feel that the influence that is held there is a total waste politically.
Well, okay, so that's something to talk about. One, I agree that I think we need better community. I think that goes without saying. Two, I don't think it should come from the church anymore. You are assuming that your pastor's political leadership would be in tune with yours, and you are, by that statement, assuming that you want your pastor to say something about political change or that sort of mindset that you would agree with, and you would be disheartened if your pastor came out and said, "Vote for Trump." Right,
I wouldn't want my pastor to do that.
Exactly. You don't want your pastor
to talk about it. That's two different things.
But you don't want your pastor to say something that's contrary to your political beliefs. That's just true across the board. You think your pastor, the person you're going the person you're going to for spiritual guidance, you would hope will also have the same political guidance that you want as well, because you're not going to trust a person to guide your soul if you don't trust them to guide your body or politics. That being said, I think the church has had a wonderful influence on the Black community, but I don't think it has an influence anymore, and we need to move away from it.
Say it again, Brennen.
People are still in the churches every Sunday.
She's saying that, Damon, I think she's saying that the church should be more open to being a platform and a conduit, and not necessarily the spokesperson.
Right.
So she doesn't.
Because we're a conduit for everything else.
She's not saying she wants her pastor to say, "Hey guys, you need to be voting for so and so and so and so." She's saying she needs a pastor saying, "Hey, let's bring in a bipartisan platform and let's have this conversation so everybody can be informed." And I agree with that.
You host a kids' night out, host a town hall.
Yeah.
I mean, the community engagement is lacking across the board in every community. Community engagement is now a hot thing for many cities. We just have our first community engagement coordinator at our city because they're realizing just this year that we need to have these conversations, and you can't be fearful of having the conversation. It's not going to happen at the night out. It's not going to happen at the certain things. You have to engage your community to feel safe to have that conversation. Let's be real. I come from a city that people who look like me rather move away than even engage because they know you're not going to be heard. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, it's not going to happen because there's too many people who in your church have their hand because someone's helping them so much. I can't go against this family or that family. And that has to stop because there's a fear there that you don't want to get your hand slapped because it's going to cause a problem. But we have to engage the community and let them know we need to have these conversations, not only during election years, but all the time, because that's what's happening. People are just not having those conversations, and the ones you think should host them freely, they're not doing it because it makes sense that the church where they come every Wednesday and Sunday, or sometimes 7 days a week, have these conversations. No matter where your views sit, at least say, look, let's hold a voting rally. Let's have this. Let's see what's out there. If it's even your city council, invite those city council members in to have that conversation on what they're doing for your districts.
Why not let people? Why not let play? We started NAACP in East Harris County and Chambers County in 2015. Just trying to go to churches to set up a table. When church get out, we want a table to register people for membership and simultaneously register them to vote. The hesitancy with which most pastors were willing to do that was astounding. You would think that it would be like, okay, this is just, we're not talking politics. We just saying, register to vote. You're in the middle of a community. Why wouldn't this community of people, vote and then know about A, B, C, and D? And, I mean, again, I think you hit it right on, Brennen, and as well, at least, because the reality is that it still holds some influence. It may not be as strong as it used to be, and a lot of people feel like church is full of shit, just to be honest. At the end of the day, though, there are still people that are very faithful in attendance. There are still people that are very faithful to the organization of church. And there are still people within that organization of church who look to the organization to define what's pertinent in their life.
I also think that there's still an elephant in the room that isn't even being seen or talked about. And that's that the mentality and the technology that exists today don't compare with the action of the antiquities of voting as they exist today. What I mean by that is we live in a hurry up, quick, speed-paced mentality. Like what's going on right now? We're in. It's created a laziness in us in terms of action. If it's not at my fingertips, then I really don't want to do it because I got 500 other things that I could be doing right now. I could be texting, typing, talking, reading, and watching all these different things all at the same time, right? And on top of that, I've got the technology to allow me to do that. However, voting, as Damon pointed out, requires get up and go vote.
Yeah. Stop what you're doing.
If we actually took the technology that we have and applied it to voting, that would change the landscape of how many people go out and vote and who is voted for. But I think, and I could be wrong, I think the powers that be don't want to do that because most of the powers that be are conservative, right? At minimum, they're economically conservative. And if you started allowing people to vote at the touch of their fingertips, then it would change the landscape of the conservative power. It would shift.
They're mad about us doing drive-in voting. Like they are mad at Harris County for actually having the option for you to pull up in your vehicle and vote. What I think is genius.
During a pandemic.
I'm surprised more people have actually pushed for a technology boost in voting. Like, to me, that's mind-boggling. Like, what, we have an app literally for everything except
Everything else
for voting. You could argue, oh, voting is encrypted. You can encrypt the app. You know, if you can, we have problems with people wondering if the electronic voting booth has been tampered with. So what's the difference? You know, you're always going to think somebody's messing with something. Why haven't we pushed for the technology of voting to match where we are today? And I don't understand.
That's because neither party, the Democrats or Republicans, want a change. The Democrats can push for that. Amazon has 1 million transactions a day that are secure. They can figure out how to vote from your phone, but nobody really wants that.
Let's have this conversation really quickly. Let's talk about the Democrats, Republicans. What for all of you who are voters, some have already voted or not, are you happy, content, okay with the parties and how they're addressing the issues? And have they hit an issue that is truly dear to your heart? Because with the debates that's going on right now, I don't feel anyone answered any questions that were presented. It was a lot of just ugliness and nastiness. But for you individually, what do you want to see addressed, and have they addressed it yet? And how is that going to determine the next 4 years of your life right now with this political system?
Student loans. That has been addressed to some degree. Whoever will give me the biggest relief from having to pay Navient, Sally Mae, the Department of Education,
the mafia, the mafia,
all of those people, then they will have my interest and intrigue. And they've talked about it a little bit, but I think that they've, at least in the vice presidential debates, they did a lot more answering of questions than anything that happened in the presidential.
For me, Brennan, did we lose you? Oh, damn, we lost Brennan.
He'll come back.
Okay. He'll come back, and then I'll let him finish up. For me, I would say this. I was not at all disappointed in the presidential debate because I did not expect anything. And I actually figured that Trump's biggest tool would be to do what he did, and he did it well. Not disappointed at all. I was disappointed in not just in the vice presidential debate.
Am I still there?
We can hear you. Go ahead, Brent. Go ahead, Damon.
Okay, so I was disappointed in the vice president debate because I expected more from them. They appear to be two intellectuals, and I expected more, and I didn't get that. And then I was disappointed in, no offense, Democrats, because Democrats needed that to be a win on their book. They needed Kamala Harris to show up and beat him, and at best she tied him. But what we saw from those debates, the VP debates, there was more emphasis on that fly being on that man's head than the words coming out of his mouth. More people can talk about that fly than what he said.
Because he wasn't saying nothing.
Okay, but he said something, right? Right? He did say some things here. But so I'm not impressed.
If you want to compare the two debates, and not to cross you, if you want to compare the two debates, there was more said
in VP
of
debate.
Importance in the vice presidential debate than the presidential debate. But I feel that's only because they both knew I have to clean up this shit that I just had that came before me. Which is
exactly my problem. The Democratic Party, the parties themselves, the Democrats, not the Republicans, needed to have a more intellectual debate. The Republicans can rely on rhetoric. The Democrats needed a more intellectual debate. They did not get it. So for me, the issues that are important to me, I've already named them. Defunding the police, right? Those issues central to Black Lives Matter. As a public defender, I care about the over militarization and police of Black communities. I care about the fact that if I go to River Oaks, which is like the rich area of a rich area of Houston, or Bel Air, right, I might see 1 or 2 cops. And then once they see me, I might see 3 or 4. But if I go to like 3rd Ward, TSU, where I went to law school, I can't go 2 blocks without seeing 4 cops just circling around the neighborhood, right? And so those cops are looking for people to arrest. They're looking for crimes, and then eventually they get it. So 3rd Ward has a high crime rate because, damn it, they're looking for crime. And having been in this business, having gone to Houston Baptist University and been around that type of person, drugs are everywhere, crime is everywhere. And so for me, I want to see people talk about the over police of my neighborhood. I want to see them talk about accountability from that police. I want to see them talk about everything these last 2 years of Black Lives Matters protests that has happened that we've asked for. I want that on the forefront, and not the fact that Pence had a big old fly in his hair, or that Trump did what Trump always does. And that to me
That is on people, though. That is not on the Democratic Party, because unless they plan it to fly, then that's not on the Democratic Party. As far as the substance within the debate, it was wanting for me. The one thing that I was appreciative, which is important to me, that Kamala spoke of, and that I have been speaking about on, a couple of podcasts, actually, just for the last several months. The courts, they're being stacked with conservative, young, white male judges. That is why it's important to vote. They're being stacked. And here's the issue. You can put all the criminal justice reform in place that you want to, but those judges have that power. So when you give those judges that sentencing power, and they're conservative people, it doesn't matter how you make the laws if the judge is still sentencing me the same way he was during the war on drugs, during the crack era, when everybody was going to prison in the 90s. It won't make a difference in the world. And so my thing is that,
except for judges have to follow the law, though. So if you change the law, judges have to follow the law. That one.
Yeah, but what I would desire is for people, and this is where I work in my personal, space, is to educate people on how democracy works. It is a long game. Just the very fact of a career politician is antithetical to the spirit of a democracy. If it's a true democracy, you wouldn't have career politicians. You can't just, I'm going to be a politician and retire that way. So we have to start attacking these hypocrisies that are built into the system that keep us in a level of some sort of ignorance that is really blissful for those who are in the positions of power and influence. So, but the biggest thing for me is that the lawmakers, the Senate, the Congress, that's on the ballot right now. Voting out career politicians, people not understanding, if I don't like what's happening in the state of Texas where these particular sentencing laws are, that means I need to get rid of the people that are making those laws. And that also means when those people come, and put their sign out in my neighborhood or do whatever, I need to be having some kind of town hall so I can hold their feet to the fire on, what did you vote on? What law did you sponsor? What did you do? And how's that? I need to be able to call people out on the substance. And we have a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors in the political process. Now, as far as Kamala and the Democratic Party, as a Black woman and a Black woman at work, I felt she did a phenomenal job because she had to master the matrix like the rest of us. She played that game. It was all on her face, where if I come at you too hard, then I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be everything else. I'm going to be everything but more intelligent than you are. Pence he didn't even look at her and address her during the debate. I don't know if any of you gentlemen have read Lean In, but he epitomized that prototype of men, certain men in the workplace, a certain type of man.
He has no respect for women at all. He didn't respect the moderator. He didn't respect her at all. Brennen, you want to jump in?
Yeah.
I got too heavy and the government kicked me out. So.
They watching you.
You were talking about money. They don't care about you. Were talking about get rid of their money, and they were like, no, thank you, sir.
But no, I think what I was saying before was that the politicians are designed to not answer questions the way you want them to. They're designed to obfuscate and to give you the bare minimum, so you can't ever actually pin them down on any one thing. I think that Kamala answered questions probably. I think Pence and Kamala both answered as directly as they possibly could without giving away too much. I don't think that either one. So right now, the Democrats have to toe this line, because this is interesting in as much as you now have Trump giving Democrats the ability to entice certain Republicans over to their side. But it only works if they don't sound too leftist when they talk. They can't sound too liberal. They have to be more moderate. So, hey, in order to get these people that are really turned off by Trump over to our side, let's keep it kind of kosher in that middle. even though we know what we want to do and we know what we're supposed to be doing to quote unquote pander to, our base. We think we already have our base locked down. So at this point, we got to focus on trying to get some of those Trumpians or Republicans who don't want to be Trumpians. And I think that's where they are right now, and saying, and the answers weren't over the top, which is why Kamala wouldn't say that Biden was planning on enlarging the Supreme Court. She couldn't say that, because if you say that, now you got those people that were anti-Trump but not really wanting to go over to the Democratic side, but saying, well, let me see if I want to, saying, whoa, you're doing too much now, right? So the Democratic Party right now is in an interesting position of trying to cater to Republicans that they would have never had before, and still keep their base comfortable. And I think that's a turnoff to some Black people, because Black people are like, well, what are you going to do for us right now? And I think the Democrats are also in a dangerous position, because if Democrats don't come through, if they get elected this term, if Democrats don't come through with their promises this term, they will completely alienate certain members, including the Black community, from ever doing anything for them again. It's like, fool me, you fooled us enough, and now we really don't think that we need you at this point.
I just hope that we as a people just don't forget after November 3rd, there's a war still going on. Like, you still need to figure, there's an agenda, there's issues that need to be addressed, because I'm still waiting on either side to really talk about what the plans are. What do you plan on doing? What are you going to, and they're not going to, of course, I know they're not going to tell us, here's the game plan, but it's so vague on both sides that it's discouraging. But I have to remain encouraged, right? Because I have to figure out what's going to be the lesser two evils, because no one really wants to, just like you're saying, to really line out what they want to do, because they don't want to lose the ones who are wavering, because you have Trump supporters and you have Republicans. To me, there's two different things going on. You have some who are not happy with what he's doing and how he handles things, and they're like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. So you have the ones who are just like, this is crazy. The Trump supporters are just, as a whole nother beast of itself. And you have the ones, like you said, who are just kind of like, let me see what's going on. Who's going to help? Who's going to have the best interest at heart? And I worry about that, because I feel honestly there's not going to be a major change, but it takes time to really see change. I want to see that there's at least something bubbling, to where I know it's not going to happen overnight, but I see the boiling of it, and I just worry that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So Arlene, I'm gonna disagree with one point you said, and that is this: Republicans don't have Republicans have a clear message. They've always had one. They will tell you right now they want to get rid of Roe v. Wade abortion. They want to overturn gay marriage. They want to limit states' rights. They want to lower taxation. They want to increase corporation influence. All right. They want to get rid of voter laws. They want to get rid of anti-discrimination laws. They've had the same message for so long, and that's what resonates with their base, because they can say, this is what we are trying to do, period. There's no smoke and screens. There's no pandering. This is what we're trying to do, and you actually see them taking strides to do it. So I disagree when they say Republicans and Democrats, neither one are telling what they want to do, are kind of operating in a mysterious way. The difference, that's not true. Republicans absolutely have had the exact same message ever since Karl Rove came through and did the Republican sweep. They've had the exact same thing they've tried to do. They have lost, thankfully, to strong Democrats who stood up to them. They lost, thankfully, when Obama was in office, and so they've been curtailed. But their plans have been clearly diagrammed, clearly expressed, and their voters are absolutely voting for them. And that's what makes them an attractive party, because you absolutely see what you're getting with them, and you absolutely see what's going on.
So let's wind it down with this. Is it now, because we're all noticing it, but the upsurge of these Black Republicans who are just hell bent on being Black Republicans and backing everything about that. Is that a new idea? Or are we just not noticing it? How do you all feel about, I'm not going to name particular names, but how do you feel about these particular Republicans who would look like us, who are going along with it? To me, some of it just seems, I don't know. I don't know how to pinpoint my frustration with it. Like that no one can ever tell me, what's your reasoning? Because I'll listen to anyone's reasoning, and no one has given me a good reasoning of why they support this or that.
So I think that the Blexit type of thing is a amalgamation of a couple of different things. One, it's the people that think it's cool to be contrarian, you know, to go against the flow. So I got to do something different because I'm not trying to be like you sheeple. And then there's another sect that that believe in the economics of the Republican Party, saying that, hey, fiscally, this makes more sense to me. And the fiscal initiatives are more important than the social initiatives to me. So I'm going to back them. Now, for those people, I think that they would find more service in saying, okay, instead of going to the Republican Party, where although you may not think that those social issues really matter to you, they affect you a lot more overall, and they're more enduring to you overall than those fiscal issues. So why not the Green Party is a party that I think that we could focus on in terms of having a third opportunity to have something that's already established and can see to some of our needs. If you don't want to be a Democrat, there is nothing about the Republican Party that should ever entice an African American. Nothing, regardless of if it's fiscal or not. Because at the end of the day, you are never going to be who they focus on and who they serve.
And the argument should not be, if I can add, it should not be because at one point in time, historically, they so-called was for us. That should not be the argument. There has to be a bigger argument than that. Because
even that argument is so disrespectful to the intelligence of people, because the entire reason there was allegiance to the Republican Party because Lincoln freed slaves. There was an exodus from the Republican Party because Republicans felt Black folks shouldn't vote. So, I mean, that was years ago. To add to what you're saying, Brennen, I think the third component of that is that it's a safety factor for some people. I won't use that word, but I'll stay in the same rodent family. I like to say squirrels. So people start squirreling because at the end of the day, that's safety for me and my environment. And I think some of that is a response to trauma, which is really kind of like some mental issues as well, where you have these people that are doing a almost like a show and dance because that's a safety for them and their arena and what they're surrounded with. And my thing about it is when you talk about fiscal or anything else, there seems to be a lot of Black people that I know who are conservative and identify as Republican. They love the economic principles. It is a privilege for you to be able to be an entrepreneur, investor, or whatever it is before you're Black. Because the reality is that many of us cannot work our way out of that. We can't excel and class our way out of that, of being that first, no matter how hard we try. And that is why the Republican Party, in my opinion, is not at all attractive, because I will always be that first with them. And it's dangerous to me.
The Democratic Party could actually be a good party for us if we left it. That there is nothing keeping them from doing this the same pattern that they've done. They pander for election and then they leave you alone during the term.
That's true. That's
true.
And
leave you alone. If we actually left them when election time came, it would force them to say, we have to revamp our style because we have lost our privilege in being able to pander and release. But
isn't the time to do that, though? Wouldn't the time to do that be during the primaries and but not when we have such opposition?
There's always every election. This is the most important election we have to vote for. Every presidential election. This is, oh my gosh, we can't have George Bush in office. He's gonna go. Okay. Oh my gosh, Obama's running. We gotta have Obama. Okay. Oh my gosh, we can't have Trump. Like, it seems like every presidential election, the Democrats come out and say this is the one that's gonna make or break the country. I agree with Brennen. I mean, I agree. I think it's racist, and I think it's a fallacy for Black people to say you can't be Black and be a Republican. I think that's true. If you want to be Black and be Republican, be Black and be Republican, or be a
Right.
Democrat. Have good reasons. Have good reasons. That's fine. But I will say this, and I've said this before. I was not happy with voting for Biden, not even the slightest bit. And I did not want to vote for Biden, and I definitely didn't want to vote for Kamala Harris. But I did. I gave them my vote because I decided that it was better for the country to have them over Trump. But I'm going to tell you right now, I will not vote for another Democrat ever again if they don't deliver on their promises. If they win. If they win,
I'm there with you.
That's a wrap on that. And I used to fight with Brennen on this one all the time, and I've come to agree with him. I don't know about the Green Party, but there are other parties, Libertarian Party, that we can go to as Black people and show our support there. And I will say this: these past 4 years should have taught us, as Black people, we're stronger than we think. We went through 4 years of Trump, and we haven't. Things haven't gotten worse. They've been either the same or slightly better. We haven't seen a great lessening in Black
let
America.
me say this. Let me say this.
That's,
I don't agree with
survive anything.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. But I will say this. What I appreciate.
Maybe not in your world. You're a man. You can compartmentalize a lot easier than most women at work. And so for you, you may not, your mental health might be on 10. But it's a whole lot of Black women that's completely stressed the hell out because of what's been unleashed on their jobs in corporate because of this man being in office.
But what I would say though is what I appreciate right now with what's been happening this past 4 years, and even more so now. I'll let you respond, Damon. You're biting at the bit. I see you. It's the fact that it's made more people aware. I appreciate the fact that more people have now taken time who look like us to say, let me look into things. Let me ask questions. To me, I've seen that more now than before. Before it was like, just because I'm Black, I'm voting for you. That's not happening right now. I think right now people are now willing to educate themselves more on what's really going on. Even though I still have a complaint about that not doing it enough, because I'm never pleased with how they're doing it. But I can honestly say now that you have more people being vocal and trying to understand what's good for you, what's not good for you. That right now I can say is whatever happens, we have a set of people now who are much more educated, who are younger now, who care, who are paying attention. You have people talking to their kids about what's going on. And to me, it's brought a surge of more awareness. I just hope we continue with that awareness beyond, not just because, oh, I got what I want and now I'm done.
Damon, now's your time to shine.
Oh no, I thought you had something to say, Brandon. I was gonna let you have it. No, okay, so fine. So I obviously am not a woman, but I will say this though: as far as I can remember, women have been marginalized in our society, and it's been a terrible thing. I have a wife. We got 3 daughters. I've got 2 sisters. You know, I obviously live my life as a man. I'm tall, I'm big, I'm loud, I'm a lawyer, so I don't deny that. But I work a lot with a lot of women. There's probably more women in my workplace than men. And I totally understand that women have been marginalized. I'm not saying you haven't been. What I'm saying is these last 3 years, from what I've seen, has not increased that level of marginalization. All right, it may have exposed it more, but the things you see now openly, you felt quietly before. The things that you were like, I don't trust that person, but I don't know why. Now they're telling you why. So now you just know why you don't trust them. It's just obvious. We have been through 3 years of Trump, and things have not gotten worse. They've gotten vocal. And so where you couldn't see that person you didn't trust, where you saw that person you trust, but you couldn't really put a finger on it, you can do it now. I don't think that's a negative. I think people being exposed to who they are isn't a negative. I think it's actually a great positive. And so what I'm saying is, as a Black people, we entered these 2016 with fear of what was going to happen to us, right? With a belief that we're not going to go back to like slavery or shit like that, but we don't know what to expect moving forward with Trump. And here it is, 2020, and he's done everything we thought that he was going to happen. But we're still here. We're still making money. We're still moving forward. We're still fighting, right? And so that has, in my opinion, taught me, and maybe I'm the only person that feels this way, I don't need the Democratic Party any longer. I've withstood Trump when he was a Republican president with a Republican-controlled Senate and a House. It was the presidency had the entire Congress minus Supreme Court, and I am still here. I have still made money. My family's doing great, and life is what it is. It's still a struggle, but it's not the struggle I thought it was going to be. And so now I know moving forward, if the party that says they're working for me or going to work with me to make my life better doesn't, I can step back from them. So next presidential election, if they don't deliver their promises, that's a wrap for Damon.
So
that's all I'm
Brennen,
saying.
I respect what you're saying, Damon, and I won't get into it. I appreciate that you're saying you feel that way, but I'm talking about data and facts, and I'm gonna pose the question because I think that it has nothing to do with voting. It's just a matter of arguing that particular point of whether or not it is better or worse, in particular in the workplaces for women. And yes, people are more vocal, but because they're more vocal, they also are less reserved with what they do and how they retaliate and how they do things. So I think that cannot be ignored. At least before, people used to pay because there's only so much that they could do. But again, I think to what you're saying, it is perspective because I'm doing well. I got first world problems, but again, I think the data and the facts and the stories tell a different story. And I think that motivation is what has a lot of people being like, forget the issues, get this man out of here right now. Let's do this what's at hand. Get him out because he's unleashing this stuff that is like, I can't even think about issues because I got to think about all this mess that I'm dealing with right now. And so I want all that to stop. And then, all right, Democratic Party, this your last 4 years. Give me some substance now that we get this mess that's been unleashed. And it's who we are. You are right in that regard. This is who America is. I think what we're seeing, we know it's nothing new. It is just more visible and more vocal and more bold. And people are more willing to act on it than they ever have before. But yeah, I think, it detracts from the issues because it gotta go. That's all I know. It's gotta go because not just because I don't like seeing it, but because there are people feeling it. There are people dealing with the impacts and influence from this man.
Brennen, go ahead and jump in, Mr. Dunn.
So I hear what Damon is saying, and to reconcile between Damon and Nikki, I think what he's saying is that, hey, while your mental health may be stressed and taxed, your day-to-day life has not changed. Your ability for healthcare hasn't changed. Trump hasn't changed the healthcare in America yet. Financially, you haven't taken a hit. Whatever financial hit you've taken, it's been because of COVID and not because of Trump. So in terms of your everyday lifestyle, there's nothing that's been significantly impacted for most people because of Trump. Now, you may feel more stressed because more people are vocal, but that's not necessarily something that's okay. That I think he's not putting that in as a necessary factor in terms of a lifestyle change. Now, to Damon's point, I'm going to disagree to a certain extent because while the immediacy of the change isn't apparent, the long-term effects vis-a-vis the Supreme Court is what's most damning to me. And when you have when he's able to place three people or supposedly three people on the Supreme Court, if he gets Amy Coney Barrett in time, then that's going to have a much longer and more detrimental effect on you individually and in your lifestyle, in your fiscal initiatives, and on your mental health, because that's going to change. Literally, we are going to go backwards in time in terms of progress. So yes, right now Trump is not affecting you, but Trump has done enough where we are going to feel Trump 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. He's no longer, when he's in jail, wondering how he got there.
Well, I blame Ruth Bader Ginsburg's appointment not on Trump, but on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Not for dying, but for not stepping down when she was asked to by Obama. We can have that whole conversation later, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that today. We're not gonna do that one today. We're not gonna do that one today. But I will close this out because I don't want to hold any of you any longer. But I want to say this has been, I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to all of you get heated but not heated. You know, this is between Damon and Nikki. I'm like, let me just sit back and just watch. I was Brent. I'm gonna sit back and watch. I really enjoyed this. And I would love to do this again with all of you at some point in time. I need to know before we go though, when intelligence is gonna come back.
You know, we're working on that. It's hard to get these fellas all together. When I tell you, there's nothing harder than getting guys to do anything. That's why
I know. It was hard to get you to respond to my emails and my messages. It was hard to get you two.
Well, I responded.
You responded. Okay, listen. I'm not going to do this on air, but I love my men. But the response time ails my soul.
But I'm trial tomorrow, so I apologize. And I knew I was.
I'm just messing with you. I mess with you.
Here's one thing about me, and Damon will attest to this. I will break my neck to keep my word. So
no.
I'm still gonna be there.
Right, and I appreciate it. I do. So when intelligence coming back?
We're gonna try to get it up here within the next month or so. Like we got to get these guys. I actually like this StreamYard format, so I need to look into that because it looks like you guys have a lot more interaction we have right now, and I really like how we can see those Facebook comments come up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. So, but I've had people actually literally call me and say, "Hey, we want the show back." So I'm working.
Because I don't understand why on the YouTube I'm showing a video that's like 11 months ago, and I'm thinking, you know what? It was every either Tuesday or Wednesday I would tune in and I'm listening. I'm like, okay, they're talking.
No.
And I would get my fix.
Hold me to the fire. I like that.
You don't want me to do that. You don't want me to do that.
I do. Hold him to the fire.
Yeah, because I'm not even gonna fool with you. I'm not even gonna fool with you.
Damon's only available on Wednesdays from 9 to 9:10, so it's really hard.
Mondays. Monday. I don't have that single lifestyle you do, sir. In fact, every time I turn around, it's because one of my kids is in my room doing something. So I gotta go be daddy.
And I appreciate all of you taking the time to have this conversation. I just wanted to be free flowing and easy because it can get either heated, too clinical, and I didn't want that. And I just wanted us to have a conversation. People can chime in and hear an intelligent point of view from the three of you because they hear me every week and they don't need to hear my voice anymore. So before we go, Nikki, tell us a little where we can find you, what's going on with you, what's happening next.
All right, so you can find me online at almost all my handles are Nikki Brooks 01. So that is on Facebook, Nikki Brooks 01, Instagram, Nikki Brooks 01. And shameless plug here, just opened a Houston franchise of Yard Card Queen. I'm the Yard Card Queen. So
you are.
You know, I'm also on Facebook there and Instagram as well. But that's how you can find me and keep up with me. I definitely blog all over Facebook and Twitter is Nikki Brooks 01 as well. So
you have a podcast, Nikki, don't you?
Yes, I do a podcast with Adrian Neely and Bishop Green. And it is called Strange Fruit. We rebranded it to We're Speaking. And so
it was called Strange Fruit?
Yeah, it's called Strange Fruit Podcast. We're actually in the process right now. Got a new logo and some things. And we're rebranding and changing the name to We're Speaking. And so I think we'll launch that new thing in about 2 weeks. But we do, Strange Fruit is up. It's been up for about 4 months now. And we got a nice little thing going there, and we really
good. I like it.
We really do. And we have hosts and have people onto the show and everything as well. And so, I like this format as well. I think this is really.
I will give y'all lessons on it. Let me tell you, this is the best thing in the world. Mr. Parrish, Mr. Debatable, Mr. No breaks at all given.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's me. So as you said several times, you can catch me on Intelligence with Brennen. We're going to get it back up and running soon. The one thing I would like to say to anybody out there, don't be afraid to be who you are. Say your voice, have your truth. Sometimes you shine light. the brightest light shines in the darkness by itself, but it's okay. You be who you are, and more importantly, vote, right? And Erlene, you asked a question, and I was going to say this: when people who don't vote talk to me about issues, I don't listen to them. So either you're going to vote and fight with me, or I'm not going to hear a word you say. I won't tell you to shut up, but I won't hear a word you say. So please go out there and vote. Whether you want to vote for Trump or Biden or whatever, please exercise your right to vote and be part of the system so that at the very least you can bitch about it when it goes wrong.
I just tell them I don't fuck with you. You know, I don't fuck with you. Right. But I'm much more raw than other people. Go ahead. Mr. Dunn, Esquire.
So like Damon said, we're going to get the intelligence back up. So you can, if you Facebook search intelligence with a T, not a C, ENTS, then you'll be able to find us. So do that search engine. And like Damon said, you know, I'm very much an advocate for voting. If you choose not to vote, then you should also choose not to speak. And there have been people that have died that look like me with the hope that they could be part of a system of change for me to live and not be a part of that system for change. So that's where I stand on it. And you've got 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks worth of early voting at this point to make a difference individually. And if you say, well, my little vote doesn't matter, then so even if you don't think it matters, what harm will it do it? You know? Right. And so that's so regardless of if you think it matters or not, just help a brother out and just go press something on that ballot. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? I want to say thank you all so much. And I hope I can get you all together again a little bit easier next time, Mr. Dunn. I'm just joking. I want to get all of you together again after the election and see your viewpoints and see what you have to say. And I'm just going to sit back and just let it roll. It's going to be so good. It's so amazing to me.
I appreciate you having us. This was amazing for me.
You know, I put the call out. I said, listen, I have a great set of Facebook friends and I respect so many of them. And I said, I need people to talk about this. And I told Nikki she had to. Nikki had no choice. But your names were given by Kenya. And Kenya's like, I need to hear Damon and Brennen. I said, well, yeah, okay. Well, and I hit you up. And I was like, I hate doing Facebook inbox. I just hate it. But you know, and I'm so glad you accepted, and I appreciate you coming on my platform and sharing your voice and your knowledge and your truth. And it's amazing. And I will have you back after the election so we can talk about that shit show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we will.
I want to say thank you all for tuning in. This show's going to be up on YouTube by tomorrow. I'll be streaming everywhere by tomorrow. So enjoy your night. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, gentlemen. It was great.